Hello CNC students, Mr. Calverley back again. I want to cover another topic today. This is another trigonometry lesson. Don't let that bother you. Trigonometry is pretty easy the way we do it. We only need to know a small portion of that. We're going to continue to work with right triangles. As we know, a right triangle is a triangle that has a 190-degree angle in it. That 90-degree angle is symbolized by a little box in the corner. And today we're going to try to find a side. We're going to calculate for a side when we know one side and one angle. So if we know one of the angles and one of the sides, we can calculate for any of the other sides. Pretty simple to do. We have a few more formulas to go, and we'll talk about those in 1 second, but the important thing in this formula is we need to determine two things. What are we trying to solve for? The opposite side, the adjacent side, or the hypotenuse? Once we know that, we then will determine what information do we know, what side do we know, and what angle do we know. So let's cover that one more time. As we talked about in previous videos, we have to name our sides. So if this is the angle that we know, that will determine which sides are which. Our hypotenuse is always our longest side. It's the side directly across from the right angle, and it's our longest side. The adjacent side is the side that touches the angle that we know. It is adjacent to that side. And the opposite side is opposite the angle that we know. So if we know this angle, this is our opposite side. If we know this angle, this becomes our opposite side. So I always encourage machinists, if they have a print or problem they're going to solve, draw that on a piece of paper, label your sides, label the angle that you know. It makes it really easy to go back and fill in the blanks for the problem. So let's take a sample problem. So we know one angle and one side. In this triangle, this is obviously going to be our hypotenuse. Let's say that we know this is a 30-degree angle here on this side, which will make this our opposite side, and this, when they touch it, our adjacent side. So let's fill in some blanks here. Let's say we know this is a 10-inch hypotenuse, and we just need to know one side, so we'll make that 10 inches. And let's solve for our opposite side. So let's go over to our formulas really fast. So I want to know the opposite side, so it has to be one of these two formulas on top. And what do I know? I know my hypotenuse and an angle. So if I know the hypotenuse and the angle, we're going to use our first formula here on the board. As I mentioned before, this is a TI-30 calculator. In our purple boxes here are physically the keys that you push on your calculator. It makes it pretty simple. At the end of this video, I will add a screenshot of these formulas, so you don't have to memorize these now, but write them down when you get to them later on. So we're going to fill in our blanks here and figure for the opposite side. So hypotenuse is going to be 10 inches. So 10 times our angle, which is 30 degrees, sine equals 5 inches. So with a 30-degree angle, our hypotenuse is 10 inches, our opposite side is 5 inches. We can use this again to figure out this side if we want. We can also use Pythagoras' theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We can also use that to find this, this side as well. Both ways will work. So let's look at another problem. Let's change it up. We'll use this, we're going to change the side to our angle. So we'll call this a, let's say a 40-degree angle. So if this is the angle we know, these sides are not correct anymore. This side becomes our opposite side. This side becomes our adjacent side. it is adjacent to the angle that we know. We'll change our size up. Let's say we know our opposite side. So let's give this a number of 6 inches. So now we know one angle and one side. And we want to calculate for our hypotenuse. So if I look at my formulas, the first thing I care about is what am I solving for? Well, I'm solving for my hypotenuse. It has to be one of these two formulas. I know my angle and I know my opposite side. So our first one here is opposite divided by angle. Sine equals our hypotenuse. That's the one we want to use. So let's put in our numbers and see what we come up with. So our opposite is 6 inches divided by our angle, which is 40 sine equals. So our hypotenuse equals 9.334 inches. Okay, fairly simple to figure out. Again, we can go back to Pythagorean's theorem, we can figure this out. Let's just say we don't want to do that. Let's just go ahead and calculate for this side now. So now we know our angle and our opposite side. Let's solve for our adjacent. So this one here, opposite divided by the angle tangent equals the adjacent. So let's figure that. So our opposite is 6 inches divided by 40 tangent equals. So our adjacent side is going to equal 7.150 inches. So seems like more formulas or more complicated formulas are really not. The main thing is to determine what you want to solve for first. Once you know that, come with one of those two formulas and figure out which side that you know. Plug those numbers right in your calculator, and you'll easily be able to figure out the lengths of the sides for all three sides of this triangle. Thank you. Keep making chips.